Hi boys and girls, it is social studies time. Today we are going to learn about another colonial trade, another job that you would have found in town. It's called the blacksmith. Yesterday we learned about the house builders, the bricklayers, the masons, and the carpenters that worked with stone, brick, and wood. And the blacksmith that we're going to be talking about today, he works with metal or iron and those kind of materials. So we're going to read about it. And we have our pictures up here. So everybody have a seat, get nice and comfy, and we will get started. Blacksmiths were some of the most important tradespeople in town because they made all the tools that people needed to do their jobs. They made chisels for masons and hammers and nails for carpenters and cobblers. They made household items like kettles, cooking pots, candle holders, and other utensils. They also made horseshoes, hinges, knives and swords, locks and keys, and much, much more. You'd be surprised at the number of things people used in everyday life that came out of the blacksmith shop. To do his work, so this is a picture of a blacksmith shop, and you can see fire, and you can see him pounding things with hammers. To do his work, a blacksmith needed 5 basic things. He needed some metal to work with, something to heat the metal in, and something to move the hot metal from one place to another, something to put it on, and something to hit it with. Blacksmiths in early America worked mostly with iron. Iron is a very strong metal, but when it is heated in fire, it becomes soft and pliable. That means it can be shaped into whatever shape the blacksmith wants. So you can see this burning hot iron right here, or metal, and they had to get it red and glowing hot like that in order to shape it. To heat the iron, a blacksmith used a special oven or a fireplace called a forge. Most forges were simply open fire pits, like the ones in the first picture, so that the blacksmith could work closely and easily with the metal he put in the fire. But most important thing was that the fire burned hot, so hot that it could melt metal. And you can see the glowing fire under those rocks and coals. Once his forge was hot enough, the blacksmith would put a piece of iron into it. Because the forge was so hot, he had to use tongs. Tongs have 2 long metal arms connected by a hinge. You know, when you guys play in the rice buckets and you have the things that pick up the toys in the rice, those are called tongs. But these were big, giant tongs that were made out of metal. By using the 2 arms together, you can grab things without using your hands. You can see the blacksmith using tongs in this picture. Tongs were an essential tool for the blacksmith, almost like a second pair of hands for him. The blacksmith would leave the iron in the forge until it was red hot, meaning that it actually got so hot that it turned bright red in the fire. Then he'd pull it out using his tongs again to keep from burning his hands. After quickly removing the red hot piece of iron from the fire, he placed it on the anvil and started to bang away at it with his hammer. In this picture you can see the anvil, the big block of metal on which the blacksmith shaped the iron. The blacksmith had to work quickly because the metal was only soft and pliable when it was red hot. Once the iron cooled, it would harden. So if they didn't get their job done, if they didn't get it into the shape they wanted, they'd have to stick it back in the fire to get it hot again. And as long as the blacksmith kept the metal hot, he could shape it however he liked. He could make the metal longer or shorter, thicker or thinner. He could bend it and mold it into special shapes. In this picture, you can see, gotta find my place. You can see how the blacksmith is shaping a horseshoe. And you can see goes around the shape of the horse's hoof. When he was happy with the size and shape of whatever he was making, the blacksmith would let the iron cool off, sometimes by plunging it in a bucket of cold water, and it would harden. Because the blacksmith lifted hammers and heavy iron pieces all day long, He was usually one of the strongest, toughest men in town. A blacksmith probably had more than his share of scars and burns from the hot metal he handled every day. Blacksmiths were often thought of as clever and resourceful people, meaning that they were able to figure out how to fix things and make things work. If a person needed a special tool for a special job, chances were the local blacksmith could figure out how to make it and whatever else was needed. Is anyone wondering where the name blacksmith came from? Well, the word smith comes from the word smite, which is another word for hit. And iron is black, so a blacksmith is a person who smites or hits black metal for a living. Today, machines do the work of blacksmiths, melting iron in large pots and pouring the hot metal into molds or shapes. For example, there's a mold for horseshoes. The good thing about using a mold is that no one gets burned and all the horseshoes come out the same. But we still appreciate the handmade iron work of the blacksmiths from years ago. No town in early America was without a blacksmith. He was the essential tradesperson in every town. Okay, boys and girls, we're all done with that. And next week, we are going to have a special video about blacksmithing. And you'll see Miss Barrett has a friend that is going to do some blacksmithing for us in a video. And you'll be able to watch him heat the metal and make it into a shape. So I think it's going to be really fun. So watch for that next week. And today you have a picture of a blacksmith to color. And in the picture you can see there's the forge with the fire and the coal. There's the blacksmith with his hammer. He's pounding something out on the anvil. And you can see all of his tools and things in the background. All right, boys and girls, have fun coloring your blacksmith picture.